people till 8 o'clock.
I think we'd be able to staff. It depends on what type of employee that you would want. If we were to use media staff, that is easier, or like a classified staff, that's easier than campus supervisors. Campus supervisors actually right now are pretty hard to fill. And so it would depend on how we decided to staff it.
Okay. Annie?
So I have a devil's advocate question to ask. Is it our responsibility to have access, if we provide it for the access that we have now, for Lincoln High, Northeast, and at Southeast, we're providing access at the schools in which we have also said everyone has the Chromebook. And we're providing an initiative and funding for an initiative to say, what do we need to do in middle school? If we do all 6 high schools, then we're saying we're also providing it for the schools in which we haven't yet gotten the Chromebook. So this is for kids who have their own devices at their own homes. So is that my devil's advocate question, is that where we want to be going? I mean, is that our mission? Is that our style? Because I think the step we were trying to take is, in our rollout, we are supporting what we're trying to do in the rollout as well as we could. With this idea, is it as well as we could? I don't know, maybe it's better, but this is where we got to with it. And I'd be open to hearing if there's a better way of doing it. So that's kind of my devil's advocate question. I mean, all 6 high schools we would then be supporting places in which the LPS had not said the Chromebooks are there yet.
No, I think I'm going to have Barb talk, and then I think we're going to table this one because we have the staff getting back to us with more information.
Understood.
Okay.
My reply to that is that the reality is that all our high schools and the majority of our classes are utilizing the internet and the need to do research, to get your papers done, to learn your foreign language, to do a multiplicity of academic pursuits, regardless of whether or not we provided that Chromebook to them or not. So the reality of it is, kids are pretty dependent on access to the internet, regardless if we have the Chromebook in their hand or not. I've had kids from North Star actually call me up and say, I couldn't get my homework done, I couldn't get on, my mom's internet access wasn't good enough. Now I'm having a problem in this class. I've gotten those calls. I've had people tell me that they have to study online to be able to catch up, keep up with their foreign language study, because what we have for curriculum requires a lot of practice online to be able to have that curriculum be effective for you. So the reality of it is that technology is kind of racing ahead of us, and it's a blessed thing that we had enough foresight to start going and gearing up now, because we're pretty much keeping up. But right now, we have 2 years here in which there's going to be questionable access, and we still have kids across the district that can't necessarily go and get their homework done.
Okay. Okay, good. So what I'm hearing here is we're going to wait until we get the mapping of where the internet is close. We will all look at that. For now, the Finance Committee did decide on Northeast, Lincoln High, and some hot spots at Southeast. We'll keep with that until we have further information from you.
Okay.
Okay, we're on to the next question. We have 15 minutes.
I just might add something real quick to that. I'd really appreciate if we move forward with the program as we're proposing right now, if we would keep track of how many kids actually come and use it, so that we might know in the future.
I agree.
So that might just be a good little add. The one thing I was going to comment is actually on this slide right here, that it's a bit of a semantics thing, but we're making an intentional choice right now to lower our general levy and put money into the building fund. The terminology that we've been using, and you can see on the slide here, is that we're moving a half-cent levy to the building fund. And I would just propose that we use the terminology that we're lowering the general levy, and we're really working towards growth by adding money to a building fund. Because I think that's an intentional choice that we, at least on the planning committee, saw as a need, that if we're going to address the growth that we have in this district, that we really need to add money to a building fund so we can set ourselves up for future development. So it's a small semantics thing, but just might be a good thing for us to keep in mind that we are making an intentional choice on that.
And I do think your comments do highlight the idea that this is a prioritization of needs. There's
Yeah.
general fund needs, there's building facility needs, and this was a conscious decision to advance something that did recognize the building fund and the growth.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions, board? Barb?
I just want to know, if we go with that semantic change, does that mean that we're now at a 1 cent, $1.04 a levy for the general fund? That seems very confusing to me, because I viewed the building fund as more like a depreciation fund, like we have other depreciation funds, and so that would continue to be a general fund item, not something different and new.
We would have a property tax asking for both. So we would, when we produce the publication and the notice document, we would have a tax asking that would match $1.45 for the general fund, and then we would have a building fund tax ask that would be the half of the cent. The two of those combined together are under the $1.05 lid. So that's why we always couple them in our brain, because they're both under the $1.05. You have to make tough choices to be between the two. You have to lower the general fund to raise the building fund, but the building fund is not a component of the general fund. It is a separate tax request. It's a separate line on the uniform budget document that we file.
I would need to know more about the repercussions of that,
Okay.
because I thought it was more like a depreciation fund, and I think that we need to be thoughtful about that as we go to the legislature and say that we need to go and have state aid. I think that I'm worried about the repercussions of going and funding the building fund at the expense of our general fund.
It does function like a depreciation fund in the fact that you can accumulate money in it. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
understand
accurate,
that.
that it's similar to a depreciation fund in that sense.
But it's taking away from our general
It-
fund, and that seems to me to be a concern.
It would decrease the tax request and the levy that people would receive on their tax bills in the general fund, and it would list it as building fund.
Lanny, you wanted to say
Maybe a
something?
quick question that would help clarify this, as long as we have this page up. So there's a $1.05 levy lid. Could you just say which of the funds are under the $1.05 levy lid and which are not?
In simple terms, the general fund and the building fund are under the $1.05. If we chose, we could also include the QC Puff fund, but in simple terms, it's the building fund and the general fund.
All right, thank you.
If we took on qualified projects, you could also change the levy in the QC Puff fund, but
Right.
that would be a unique circumstance.
Okay, thank you.
Annie,
May I change the subject matter quickly?
are we done with this subject?
I am.
We're just really following rules really well tonight. It's that teacher in me. I was like, by gosh, we're following the rules today. Okay, Annie.
I know at the last budget presentation that you, especially Matt, had a question about the investment in the fruit and vegetable snack program. So I did a little bit of looking into that, and, finding anything that directly can support intake of fruits and vegetables and academic achievement is a pretty tricky thing to do, and actually the feds said we can't do that. I mean, we really can't go that far, but there is and I'd be happy to share all this with you, they did do an evaluation of their whole program and their summary of that program, as well as I found a presentation and some research done by the Today's Dietitian, October 2014, about better academics and nutrition. And the feds basically came down to, with their program, that their analysis found that there's strong evidence that fruit and vegetable consumption's higher among students in the schools that participate in the program, and that they consumed approximately third cup more fruits and vegetables per day. And that as we look at where these participating schools are, they were by and large in socially, economically disadvantaged areas, and and that these families also, statistically tend to have the lowest intakes of fruits and vegetables. And that if we focus on higher needs schools, we're specifically targeting this at-risk group. In the last 10 years, Lincoln has, our poverty rate has increased over 58%. So I see for our 90%, our goal for our 90% graduation rate, investing in 3 more schools who are Title I schools with this fruit and snack program is us taking one more step in investing in our kids to, we have a lot of food, there are maps show that we also have a lot of food deserts in Lincoln, where getting to the grocery store and where there is fresh fruit and vegetables available. There are many hot spots where that is not actually an available ability. One does not have the ability to do that. So I see it as a real investment, and I just want to put that in today's dietitian in their presentation about academic performance and nutrition, talked about that how when we look at nutrition, we've usually focused on health outcomes, and one thing we need to start looking at is if we have adequate fruit and vegetable intake, better diet quality, and lower consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages because of education about that, we're supporting a growing body of evidence of the role of all of this in academic performance. So I just feel strongly that if we're wanting to look at the whole child, we need to look at the whole child. We've invested in it in them in their physical health and their physical education, and this is just another small step in my take of investing from a nutritional aspect. Now, I can't answer the question about should it be supported by our nutritional services. We did look at that. By supporting it for nutritional services, our lunch prices would have to go up. The question is, do we want this to be an investment we are making or something that we're going to ask the whole broad those who participate to be supporting? I say an investment.
And we did have our nutrition services department, Edith Zumwalt, did check in to see if that would be an eligible expense of the nutrition services fund, and we're told that it would not be. So it would need to come from either a grant fund or another funding stream. So that's where we landed with the investment in Title I schools, so that all Title I schools were covered from the program in this budget.
So I just kind of wanted to put it out there. That's why I kind of strongly support this investment.
Okay, anyone else? And Annie, if you'll send those all to us as well, those articles.
I guess I would just say on that it would seem to me very odd that we can't buy fruit, vegetables from a nutrition fund. Like, that just doesn't make any sense to me why we couldn't do that.
It's basically the parameters of the program. You're serving breakfast, you're serving lunch, so this is outside of that parameters.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that you're adding another meal to that program. So, and I can get more information as the exact specifics why,
Yeah.
but I know that we did take a look at it, and the department did say that that would not be an eligible expense for nutrition services.
Well, it would just appear to me, just based on the monthly financial reports we get, that our nutrition services fund is very strong and very healthy, and it would seem to me like there would be an opportunity. It's only $150,000 or something like that, isn't it?
$70,000.
$70,000, so it's really small compared to the whole nutrition budget. It would seem more appropriate to me that get paid out of the nutrition budget than out of our general fund.
It's also a heavily regulated fund, so I would just add that we did check into it, and that was the answer we were given, and I can give you some more information on that.
So if they serve an extra piece of fruit at breakfast, as an example, throw an apple on the tray, is it covered then and they can eat it later? Well, I put an extra apple in my kid's lunchbox. It's just a question. I don't know.
But this is not just for the kids who are doing breakfast. This is for...
Well, I was thinking you do it at breakfast, you might do it at lunch. I'm just curious. I just wasn't...
Well, this is a program in which mid-morning, however the kids choose to do it, the mid-morning, the schools choose to do it, that there is a snack for the kids, and it's a snack of fresh fruits and vegetables. The idea that some of the schools, when they have an early start, some of them, they're so big that lunch may not be till 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
I do know from going to school cafeterias, it's very specific. Like, students have to select the right combination of
Right.
things in order for it to count when they're going through. I mean, so it's very specific as to what constitutes a lunch and a breakfast under the federal program.
Thank you.
Barb wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say that, it's my understanding that in the next year, the feds are going to be changing those regs some and being more supportive of fruits and vegetables. So that's good news, And as I learned more about the topic, I became more supportive of this as more of a bridge funding, and hopeful those regs do actually change like they've been reported to. But you know how that can be.
Great. Any more questions?
With 3 minutes.
Okay, we're done 3 minutes early. It sounds like we all have a lot of work to do. We are adjourned.
Thank you.